All right, the Beavs and the Cougs have announced their football schedules. They've pieced them together for 2024 here.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the Cougs. Tell you who they're playing here.
You got it in front of you, or you want me to?
I got it.
It starts August 31st.
Yeah, so they are going to host Portland State and Texas Tech before visiting Washington.
Yeah, it's August 31st, September 7th, and then the Apple Cup will be in Seattle on that neutral field, Lumen Field, the old Apple Cup.
Then it's another home game against San Jose State, road game at Boise State, and then they get a bye.
Yeah, so that Boise State one,
So there's their first five.
Yeah, Texas Tech, that's.
I don't know what do they have what's his nuts back?
No, I think Shuck's gone.
Shuck's gone?
I think Shuck's gone. So again, I'm not
Where'd
certain.
he go?
I'm not certain. Well, he's just graduated.
Oh.
Been around for a long time. Pretty sure Shuck is gone. So I don't know what Texas Tech has come back, but that is a Power 5 opponent, and Texas Tech has been a decent program over the years. Obviously, Washington is a giant uphill battle, and then I would make the argument that the San Jose, Boise States of the world, even Fresno, I mean, those are teams that are. Those are not gimme games. I think it's very dangerous for the Washington States and Oregon States of the world to start looking through the Boise States and Fresnos and just being like, well, chalk that up to a W.
So Shuck went to Louisville.
Oh, he has another year, huh?
Yeah, because he got hurt, right?
He did get hurt.
He's been hurt a couple times, so he probably, how they do.
Yeah. So
Cam McCormick's on like his 12th year.
So you got another year, huh?
So he's at Louisville. Okay. Texas Tech's quarterback is Will Hammond.
I don't know who Will Hammond is.
Some guy named Will Hammond.
I don't know what Texas Tech has. They gave Oregon a game last year, though.
So that gets you to the Cougs bye. Then they go on the road to Fresno, home to Hawaii, and at San Diego State before the second bye.
Yep.
In their final four games, they will host Utah State. They will have back-to-back roadies at New Mexico and Oregon State. Yep. Then a home game against Wyoming on November 30th.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a Mountain West schedule, right? This is the sort of schedule that I played when I was at BYU, and that we would schedule.
Oh, we knew this, right?
Yeah, you knew it. It's just who you're going to play, and now it's all laid out. And so, like, when you're looking ahead at the idea of being one of the 12 teams, I mean, to be honest with you, you got to be undefeated. It's just
so the 12-team tournament. Because now I'm confused because they're already talking about the 14-team tournament.
The 14 tournament's going to happen, but it won't be until 2026.
Right, but they're already talking about in the 14-teamer.
Yeah.
The 3-3-2-2-1 model.
Yeah.
Because that's not confusing.
Yes. So just knowing
3 auto Big Tens, 3 auto SECs, 2 auto ACCs, 2 auto Big 12s, and a group of 5.
So this is.
So how many is that? Is that 11? That's 11.
And then 3 at large.
8. Oh, I missed a conference in there somewhere.
No, it's you
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 11. Yeah, and then 3 at large.
3 at large.
And so that would be how the Beavs
in the Cougs.
And that's by rankings.
But by then,
but that's 2026.
And by 2026, you'll be in either a Mountain West or a Pac-12 Mountain West merger. So the next 2 years, the only way for the Oregon State Beavs or the Washington State Cougs to get in would be as an at-large team.
Yeah.
So the next 2 years will be 4 automatic qualifiers and then a group of 5. So the 4 big champions.
So there's 7 at-large.
Yes.
The next 2 years. So it's actually easier for them to get in the next 2 years than it will be in 2026.
The problem with it is not being an automatic qualifier. The only way to be selected is for them to think that you're one of the 12 best teams. And the only way that's happening with a Mountain West schedule is if you're perfect. Like you could go 11-1, and if you lost to Washington or for Oregon State, if you went 11-1 and you lost to Oregon, you're out. You're done.
But it is an easier schedule.
It is absolutely
an easier schedule. It's a trade-off. Like you get an easier schedule, but now you can't.
There is no stumbles.
So here's the Beavs. Here's the Oregon State schedule. So they have 4 games before their first of 2 byes. They will be home against Idaho State. Yep. They will play at San Diego State and then host Oregon and Purdue, or as some would call them, Purdon't.
I see what you did there.
After the bye, they host Colorado State, visit Nevada, host UNLV, and then play at Cal before another bye. Then it's San Jose State at home, followed by a road game at Air Force. In the final 2 games, they will host Washington State And then on November 30th, they will play at Boise State.
Yeah. So again, I think Beaver fan right now is penciling in 11-1 and possibly 12-0. And I'm just telling you, with Oregon State, your roster was decimated. All your best players, with the exception of Damian Martinez, left. You don't know what's happening at quarterback. You have a brand new coaching staff.
Yeah, who is their quarterback?
I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. They got the transfer kid in, I think, from was he Arizona, that I think came on board. So I'm not certain who they have pegged, but this roster, this is not going to be the Oregon State team or anything close to it that we saw from last year. Like, it's an entirely new roster. I don't know what to make of Oregon State. But this idea, again, that you're going to go out there and you're just going to steamroll people, I don't. If that's where you want to view it and you want to be optimistic about it, God bless you. But I think the reality of this is it's going to smack you in the face.
You're not rolling out the same caliber team. That's
No.
the difference. If you were showing up to the Mountain West with the same thing you ran into the Pac-12 with last year, maybe a different story. But that just isn't the case anymore.
So, and like I said, the ones that really matter, one, you have to be perfect everywhere. But you're going to have to not just beat, but beat convincingly the other Power 5 teams that you play, and then hope that somehow you find a way to pull off an upset against Oregon and Washington. But you need to beat down, the Purdues of the world, and be perfect in your other schedule, and then find a way to beat Washington or Oregon. And that's a tough task with the roster that you have coming back. So, I mean, realistically, I think with that schedule, to me, if I'm Oregon State, I like 9-3. If you told me as a B fan that you could give me 9-3, I would take that. I think that is a more realistic, somewhere between 8 and 9 wins. But until I actually see what that coaching staff and what that roster looks like, I think even that is kind of wild speculation, because we just don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's true of a lot of schools, right?
Yeah.
The year to year of it now is less predictable because teams turn over so many bros.
Yeah.
So the quarterbacks, Oregon State has 2 transfer quarterbacks. One is from Missouri. His name is Jabari Johnson. He did not play at Missouri as a freshman and has moved on to Oregon State. He was a 4-star kid out of Tacoma.
That's right.
He is back at Oregon State. Okay, and then the other kid is from Idaho, and his name is Giovanni McCoy. And they are expecting those 2 guys to compete. Ben Goldbranson is still there, as is Travis Throckmorton.
Look, no offense to Ben Goldbranson, who seems like a really good kid, but if that's your quarterback, you're in some trouble. And your offensive line, I think Joshua Gray's back, if I'm not mistaken. Outside of that, I think you have a brand new offensive line. You lost your tight ends. I'm trying to think from a receiver position. I don't think any of the big receivers are back. I know you lost your best returning defensive lineman, your best returning linebacker, your best returning secondary guy. Look, it's going to be tough. I think there's going to be some real growing pains here, and we don't know what Trent Bray and his staff is going to bring to the table. So I'll say this. I think it's going to be a fun year to watch and see where Oregon State's at. I think Oregon State has tried to do a better job of maintaining we're going to try to continue to fund this at a big boy football level, maybe a little bit more so than Washington State, who, again, came out. I saw today that the Washington State coaches, everyone had to take a 5 to 10% pay cut, which I'm sure sits real well with coaches. This is tough. And so I think if you're Oregon State and Washington State, to me, the goal is the idea of a football playoff is just absurd. You're just trying to weather this storm. You're trying to weather this storm and land on your feet in 2 years to find a way to end up in one of the conferences, namely the Big 12.
I wonder if they, now that you see the schedule, do you like the fact that they're playing the Apple Cup and the Civil War?
I still do.
It's like the best game on the schedule now.
It's really the only, like if you're looking through this, if you're a B fan, like what game excites you? Like, I mean, outside of Oregon, does Purdue get you hot and bothered? I guess you got Washington
that
State.
Air Force game could be pretty cool.
Yeah. Is that at Air Force? Yeah. Air Force, by the way, cool place to play. Been there. I've said this all the time, that this was my biggest regret about choosing to go to BYU as opposed to stay in the Pac-10 at the time. Was I loved at BYU when we went and played the Alabamas of the world and Notre Dames and Florida States and that, but it sucks, man. The middle of the year when you're staring at UNLV and you're staring at New Mexico, sucks. It's my biggest regret. And I think that is going to be, that's going to be a bit of a downer. That's going to take some adjustment, but hopefully it doesn't last more than 2 years. And if it does, then that's just going to become your new reality. But it really does become about those handful of games. But even remember like Pat Hill and those Fresno State teams, it was like, we'll play anyone at any time, right? And they did have some of those big moments. But as good as those Fresno State teams, those Boise teams were, or some of those Utah teams were in the Mountain West, going undefeated in any league is really, really hard. Like it doesn't happen very often in any conference. So I just think that there's a bit of a delusion right now about the quality of football that is being played by some of those universities. And this idea that you're just going to go in and you just boat race everybody because they're viewed as lesser than you. And by the way, Washington State and Oregon State over the years, you've been beaten by those teams plenty of times when you have been a Pac-12 school. Let's not act like the San Diego States and the Fresnos and the Boise States haven't jumped up and punched teams like that in the mouth plenty of times. And that's not going to change.
All right. Well, there you have it. Beavs, Cougs. The schedules are set.